What's going on, VetRise family? It is Coach JP here, and I'm going to talk about one of my favorite, absolutely just integral, has to happen every single day for me, systems, right? And as I've mentioned, systems are like safety nets. So when we get used to actually putting our systems in place, we use them as safety nets to make sure that our day follows through, right? So, of course, we're talking about unlocking the power of cold exposure. We're going to talk about the benefits of it, how to do it safely, what some of the techniques are for mind and body wellness. So let's dive into it, all right? And as you guys know, this is a passionate subject for me. So I'm very happy to be sharing this with you guys today. So going over everything. All right, so table of contents. So we're going to be talking about cold exposure. Yep, cold exposure, the introduction to it, scientifically proven benefits of cold exposure, as well as building safety precautions, do's and don'ts of cold exposure. We want to be safe when we do this, right? How can we build colder exposure tolerance, the gradual approach, how to do it properly, how we can incorporate cold exposure into our daily life, and then assign you a little bit of homework, all right? So let's get into it. All right, so cold exposure, the intro, right? So what is cold exposure? So it involves deliberately making your body endure colder temperatures than you're used to, right? It triggers specific physiological responses. One of the things that right off the bat happens is that your body tends to release serotonin, which is like the happy chemical in your brain, for at least, studies say, between 5 to 10 hours after you get into that cold water, right? So that's one thing right there that triggers the happy chemical in your brain. For me, it lowers my anxiety, gets rid of any feelings of depression, just kickstarts my day. I don't even need coffee when I jump in my ice barrel. And you guys know it. I do it every single morning, right? So there are different methods of cold exposure. It can range from simple and accessible methods, such as taking a cold shower, or swimming in cold water, or putting your face into a little, what would you call it? I'm drawing a blank. Like a little tray, not a tray, like one of those plastic things. I can't think right now. Put some ice in there, put some water in there, dip your face in there for 30 to 45 seconds. It will create similar benefits as if you got your whole body cold, all right? Now, of course, there are more advanced methods like cryotherapy, which use extremely low temperatures and requires professional supervision. I've never personally done cryotherapy, but there's also the method that I do, which is jumping in cold water, right? Which is very similar to cryotherapy. The body's physiological response. So cold exposure leads to what's called vasoconstriction. It's basically the narrowing of your blood vessels, right? It can help with the rise in metabolism rate as the body tries to generate warmth, and it puts you in a thermogenesis state where your body starts to produce heat. That's where you start shaking kind of uncontrollably, which is a good thing. So if you ever do cold exposure, there is a benefit to not necessarily layering up once you finish a cold exposure, like letting your body shake and shiver and go through it. You actually can burn brown fat cells doing it that way, okay? So there is benefits to doing it that way. All right, so what's some scientific proven benefits of cold exposure? So physiological benefits. Cold exposure can lead to increased brown fat production, right? So we want that because it actually destroys that negative brown fat, all right? Unlike white fat, brown fat burns calories and improves insulin sensitivity. It helps control the body weight and prevent diabetes. So there's a lot of different types of health benefits besides it being hard to do in the mornings, right? What are some psychological benefits? So the body releases endorphins in responses to cold. Serotonin, as I mentioned. Now these chemicals act as natural painkillers and mood elevators. It leads to that feeling of euphoria and mental clarity. I promise you, you do a cold shower, you do an ice plunge, you do the little ice bin with some water and dip your face in there, you're going to have mental clarity. It's going to help you. You're going to feel this euphoria feeling. Make sure you breathe in for a little bit before we do that. I'll explain that in a little bit. And it also enhances recovery and immunity. So every time I do cold water immersion, I tend to not get sick, right? Because my body gets much more used to colder temperatures. Cold exposure is also believed to speed up muscle recovery and strengthen the immune system by boosting white blood cell production. Now, the only caveat to that is that I do not suggest that you do cold exposure, at least full body cold exposure, within 6 hours after you do a workout session if your goal is hypertrophy. So if you're trying to put on muscle and not just thinking about size, so if you're trying to make your muscles grow, there is some negative aspects of jumping in the cold water after you do a heavy lifting session, because we want that blood to stay in our muscles. We want our muscles to recover. So when you jump in cold water after you do a heavy lifting session, it's going to basically remove the blood from a lot of your muscles and move it to the heart, because the heart needs to pump it out. So if you're going to do cold water immersion, I suggest you do it before you go lifting and then warm up afterwards, or you do it at least 4 to 6 hours after you do a lifting session. Now, this is very specific. If you're just working out regularly and you're trying to burn fat and it's just a regular workout, that's fine. But if your specific goal is hypertrophy and you've burned a lot of fat on your body already and you are specifically working on building the muscle size, I don't suggest you do this within 4 to 6 hours after a lifting session, all right? What are some safety precautions? So what are some do's and don'ts of cold exposure? Consultation. Now, it's important to consult with your doctor before starting a cold exposure routine. If you have any sort of sensitivity to that type of thing, definitely talk to your doctor first, all right? Now, you can start gradually and see how you feel, but there are potential risks, right? So cold exposure, if done in extreme temperatures, can lead to hypothermia and frostbite if not done correctly. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about extreme measures, right? Jumping in cold water and staying there for 20, 30 minutes, that's not something I recommend. Typically, I do about 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes a day, I'll do it 7 days a week. That is basically my limit, right? So that's 21 minutes a week. Studies show that between 10 and 20 minutes a week is the right amount of cold exposure that you truly want to do. And I'm talking specifically about full body immersion, right? Encourage participants to start low. I encourage all you guys to start low. Never practice it alone when you start. All right. And if you feel unwell, it's also advisable to avoid cold exposure after intense workouts, as the body's already under stress, right? So we talked about that already. Building cold exposure tolerance. You want to start gradually. So you can start with doing cold showers. That's how I started way back when. So you can start with the 1 minute cold shower, gradually increasing the duration and decreasing the temperature as tolerance builds. So jump in your shower, do your regular shower routine, and at the end of it, you can shift it to cold water and just do 1 minute to start. And I would suggest doing 1 minute to start. So you want it to hit your left side, then rotate to the back after 15 seconds, and then 15 seconds later, rotate to your right side, and then end with 15 seconds on your front, right? And then work your way up. And I would end up working my way up to at least 3 minutes in cold shower, right? And you will get to a point where it becomes enjoyable and your body tolerates it just fine, and you will get to that point, right? But listen to your body. If like you feel like it's too much, then start slowly. Make sure you work your way up to that. You don't have to jump in ice water right away. I did the cold showers for about 4 or 5 months before I bought my ice barrel. And we're going to talk about breathing exercises. All right, so one of the things, let me see if it's over here. Nope. All right, so breathing exercise. So what I would suggest, if you are going to do cold showers without doing the regular shower before, I would suggest you do 30 seconds of deep breathing. Now, when you do the deep breathing, this is called the Wim Hof breathing. Wim Hof, W-I-M-H-O-F, named after Wim Hof, one of the pioneers of cold water exposure. He's a crazy guy. Look into him. He's a complete badass. So make sure you're holding on to something, because sometimes this can make you feel a little bit lightheaded, right? So make sure you're holding on to something just with one hand and do deep breathing through your mouth for 30 seconds. You might feel a little bit of tingling at your extremities, but that's okay. Basically what you're doing is you are bringing all the blood from your body into the center of your body, to your heart. And that's going to make sure that when you jump in the water, the cold shower or the cold water, your body's going to react properly, all right? So basically it looks like this. So you hold on to something, and then you just do deep breathing through the mouth, out the mouth only. Okay, so and you do that for 30 seconds. Get in the water. Trust me, you'll feel it. You'll enjoy it, all right? Like right now, I've just been doing it in 10 seconds. I already feel a little bit tingly. You don't have to do the full 30 seconds. Do 10 seconds. Work your way up to 15 seconds. Maybe do 30 seconds the following week. See if you can get there, okay? And how can you incorporate cold exposure into your daily life? So as I mentioned, start by ending your showers with the 1 to 2 minute cold rinse, or you can use cooling pads on your neck and upper back, or you can get one of those, I'm blanking on the word, Jesus. You know what you use in the kitchen to put a bunch of popcorn in when it's popcorn night? Like one of those big plastic a big bowl. Oh my God. Yeah, a bowl. Fill up a bowl with water, something that's big enough for you to be able to dip your face in, and then add ice to it. Let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then maybe do it outside or do it in the kitchen somewhere where you're not going to make a mess. Do the breathing for 15 to 30 seconds, and then dip your face in there. Sit in it for about 30 to 45 seconds. You'll notice similar benefits as if you did full body immersion, all right? Make sure you ease exposure as time goes on. You don't have to do full 3 minutes in the shower when you start. Consistency is key for experiencing the benefits of cold exposure. You don't want to do it once a week. You don't want to do it twice a week. If you truly want to get the benefits of cold exposure and start your day with doing something hard, I highly suggest it is one of the first things that you do in the morning. I have everything set up. I go to sleep in my swim shorts. I wake up and I walk directly to my ice barrel without thinking. I just set a timer on my watch. I open up my ice barrel. I check for spiders because I had a spider on the rim of it last week. And then I jump in, all right? And then I dip my whole body in there, and I do it for 3 minutes. Now, if you're interested in doing an ice barrel or purchasing an ice barrel, listen closely. There are different methods. There are different ways. There are super expensive ones. You can go to Facebook and type in DIY chest freezer. You can create your own from a chest freezer. You can buy a water trough from one of those farming stock companies. You can use that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Find the best option for you. I have a ice barrel, which cost me about $1,000. And then I have a penguin chiller, which was an add-on, which circulates the water in and out from the ice barrel. And that cost me another $2,000. So we're talking about a $3,000 investment. It's worth every penny for me. And if it's something you can afford, then go for it. But like I said, there are a lot of different options. Make sure you search through it. My ice barrel gets between 35 to 45 degrees with the machine that I have. Look for something like that. It doesn't have to be that one, but there are a lot of different options out there, okay? If space and resources allow, get an ice barrel. Yeah, like I said. All right, so, hold on. Did I miss something? Homework. All right, begin your cold exposure journey. A lot of you are already doing this, but if you haven't, choose a form of cold exposure that suits your lifestyle and health status, and start incorporating it into your daily routine. Jot down your physical and mental state before and after if you truly want to get the most benefits out of it. And make sure that each session of cold exposure to track your changes, right? Like truly feel how you feel. I do it every single day because it helps me. Create a safe progression plan. You should have a plan on how you'll gradually increase your cold exposure over time in terms of duration and intensity according to your comfort level. Vision clarifies progression, right? So if you have an idea of how you want to try it, I suggest you come up with the plan, try it out, record a video of yourself, post it in the Facebook group, or go into the Facebook group, into the Savage Squad, and once you do the cold exposure, type a post and share with all of us the benefits that you experienced once you did the cold exposure. Tell us all about it. You never know. Your story may inspire someone else to try the cold exposure. And that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you watch this, go into the Facebook group and go ahead and type in hashtag cold exposure module and let me know how you're planning on trying the cold exposure, or once you do it, go into the Facebook group and create a post. Let me know how it felt and let us all know just how you've basically experienced it, right? All right, guys, take care. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Talk to you guys later. Bye.